We have seen SDLC in the previous session. It means once we got any application for testing, what are all the various stages we need to pass on? We have seen in the yesterday's session. So in continuation with that, what we need to do is, if at all, we just want to deal with this. Okay, if at all we want to work on this black box testing, we know that black box testing is a combination of a system testing plus user acceptance testing, right? So here, one more testing definition that we need to consider, which is exhaustive testing. So what is the definition of this exhaustive testing? Let me tell you with a small example. So assume that I went to a bookstall to purchase Ramayana, which is of 10,000 pages. This book contains 10,000 pages and I want to purchase that particular book. And before purchasing the book, I want to check the printing quality of that book. So the first option is sit for 30 days in a bookstall and guarantee 100% quality. Randomly open few pages for 3 minutes and then certify the quality for about 95% of accuracy. So which option you prefer in the real world, guys? The first option or the second option? Usually we will go with the second option. We will not sit in a bookstall for about 30 days and to check the printing quality of a one particular book. So randomly we will open 3 pages and check the quality of that. Okay, randomly you will open the 3 pages and then you can check the quality on top of it. Right. So the ultimate point out over here is in the second approach, there is a 5% of a risk that the quality may not be good, but still you are accepting it. Right. But still you are accepting that particular 5% of a risk. What this exhaustive testing is saying is testing each and every possible combinations which is not possible in the real world. It's saying that you need to test each and every possible combination, but that is not at all possible for us to do this activity. Okay, that is not possible to complete that particular activity. So this whole thing, we call it as an exhaustive testing, and we know that it's not at all possible to do that. See, if at all you want to purchase a book, and if you want to sit for a 30 days in a bookstall, will those guys accept it? They will not accept it, right? So it means even there is a possibility from their end also to deny that. Exhaustive testing is saying that you need to test everything, and it's also saying that it's tough for you to do this exhaustive testing. Then what we need to do as how we have a chosen one technique to check the printing quality the same way. Okay, the same way we need to utilize all the black box testing techniques to verify the application. See, a simple point that I need to convey here basically, why we are using the techniques in anything in a real world. If assume that if a person is doing a work, okay, for about 10 hours, And if we place a small technique for him, the same 10 hours of work, he can complete it in a 2 hours. So techniques are used to reduce the effort, whatever you are spending on a particular work. Okay, so whatever the effort you are spending in order to reduce that particular effort, we are using these techniques. Okay, good enough. And then the next point here is we have few techniques in black box testing which we need to consider. Okay, fine. So let us see the techniques whatever we have in a black box testing. So 1 second. So let me open up these techniques. Before going on to these techniques, there is a one more small example of the application that we need to consider, and then we will jump on to these techniques. So assume that this is the application that we have developed as part of our organization. Okay, so this is the application we developed within our organization, guys. This is the app we as an organization develop. How this application will work: if you are entering any numbers from 0 to 9, successfully entered a numbers message should display. If you are entering anything from small j to small z, successfully entered lowercase message should display. Capital A to capital Z, successfully entered uppercase message should display. Special characters are not allowed into this field. Like this, we have a requirement for this application. In order to check this one, you need to enter 0 to 9, so which is 10 times you need to enter. Small j to small z, you need to enter 26 times. Capital A to capital Z, you need to enter 26 times. And maybe the special characters, you need to enter 30 times. Altogether, in order to test the field, you need to enter 100 times, and roughly 3 to 4 hours of time is required for us to complete this task. Okay, roughly 3 to 4 hours of time is required for us in order to complete this task, which is not at all possible for us to do these activities for such a long time. That's the reason we will use techniques in place. Okay, so we will use techniques in place. Okay, good enough. Any questions so far?
No,
No.
I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm fine too.
Okay. Okay, good. Done the deal. So the first technique that we have in a black box testing is equivalence class partition technique. So what does this equivalence class partition will do? This equivalence class partition is saying that if you are dealing with the multiple sets of data, if at all you are dealing with these multiple sets of data, in such situations, okay, in such situations, okay, identify data in groups and make sure that each group will give you same output. Okay, how you need to identify the data as part of a group? Every group you should get a same output. In in such a way, we need to create a data. We need to identify the data in that form of a groups. And instead of a testing application with all the values in the group, just pick one value and test it. So what this technique is saying is, you have identified a data in a group now. So as you have already identified a data in the form of a group, then no need to test the fields with all those values. Just pick one value and check whether you were able to identify that information or not, whether it is working with the only one set of a data or not. Just identify that. This whole process, we call it as an equivalence class partition. As part of the above technique in an equivalence class partition, if you see this above example, instead of a testing on all the 10 combinations between 0 to 9, you will be picking up a 5 value. And instead of a testing with all the combinations 26, I'm picking M. Instead of a testing all the combinations, I am testing with the M. And all the special characters, I'm placing 1 or 2. So it means earlier I was supposed to test it with 100 fields which need a 3 to 4 hours of time. And now I'm checking with a 5 values which need a 30 minutes of time for me to complete this activity. This whole process, we call it as an black box testing technique, which is an equivalence class partition. Is this point clear for you, first of all, guys? Deepa and Gayatri, the equivalence
Yeah,
class
yeah, yeah.
partition?
Yeah.
Fine, done the deal.
Mm.
Then the next technique we have is a boundary value analysis. What this technique is saying is, if your application is dealing with any condition specific stuff, in such situations, use my technique. What is an example for that? Assume that for the Gmail account creation, the condition they have is, if a person is greater than 18 years, then only he can create an account with the Gmail. Else he can't create any account with the Gmails, right? The person should be having a greater than or equal to 18 years. Then only he can create an account. Right. The same way here, what it's going to happen is in this boundary value analysis, if at all, there you have this kind of a criterias, then the condition is 18 years. So the application should not work for the people whose age is less than or equal to 18 years, and it should work for the people only greater than 18 years. We need to test it. So test that particular application with, okay, test that particular application with the 17, and then test that application with the 18 and 19 or some greater values, and verify how it's going to work. That's it. Okay, good. Good enough. Done the deal. And then this is what about the boundary value analysis does. So the boundary value analysis, what it is saying is, if your application is having certain boundary conditions, then check the application with that boundary value -1 at that boundary value, and again boundary value +1, and observe the application. Okay, and observe the application. This is what we need to do. Okay, this is what we need to do as part of this boundary value analysis. Good. And then the next point that we need to consider is once we are done with this boundary value analysis. So I will tell you one more small example on a boundary value analysis for a better understanding. Assume that you want to build an app for personal loan hyderabad.com. This is what the app that we want to build. Okay, so as whenever you want to build this particular app, okay, whenever you want to build this particular app, personal loan hyderabad.com, you did a survey in Hyderabad and you noticed that 95% of the people who are staying in this city are having 10,000 salary, and 4% of the people are having a salary of greater than 10,000, and 1% of the people are having a salary less than 10,000. So what you have decided, you have decided to go with this 95% of the people and this 4% of the people. So your requirement is if a person's salary is greater than or equal to 10,000, you can apply for the loans. Okay, if a person's salary is greater than or equal to 10,000, then only he can apply for a loan in our portal. That's what your requirement is. So what we need to do here, our organization will develop an application, and while developing the application, they may miss this equal to. So if they miss this equal to, 95% of the people were not able to use this application. That's the reason we as a tester will test the application at a boundary condition -1 at the boundary value and a boundary condition +1. We need to check the field and then we will be verifying that particular thing. Okay, so we will be verifying that a whole chunk. Okay, good enough. Good enough. Any questions on this particular boundary value analysis?
I didn't get what is that
No.
-1 boundary value
See, the thing
boundary
is,
value minus
see, they
one.
have a given a requirement for you stating that if there
Mm,
is salary is greater than or equal to 10,000, your
yeah.
application should allow them to create a loan form,
Mhm.
right? So 10,000 is a boundary value for you. They have a given a condition that. So if a person's salary is a 9,999, will they apply loans in your portal or they can't apply
Mm,
loans?
they can't.
They can't apply loans. So you need to pass on
Mm,
9,999. So -1. So it means they have a given boundary value as a 10,000. 10,000
mhm,
-1, which is a 9,999, and check whether
mhm.
the application is working or not. It shouldn't work. And a
Yeah.
boundary value at a 10,000. At 10,000, will it work or not? They want 95% of the people are having a salary as a 10,000. So it
Mhm.
should work, right?
Yeah.
You will check whether
Yes.
it is working or not, which is a boundary value. And then it should work for the people whose salary is greater than 10,000. So I will give 10,001 and I will check
Mhm.
whether it is working or not. It will work. So this is the thing.
Okay. Okay. Now I got it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Any questions for you both? What is this boundary value analysis? Good.
We are
Done the deal. And once we are done with this boundary value analysis, the next one is a decision table analysis. So what this decision table analysis does? So this will follow the Boolean condition. So A, B, and A and B. So earlier, maybe in our education, we have studied if a is a true, B is a true, A and B is a true. If any one of these values is a false, the outcome of these A and B is a false. That's what we have studied, right? If any one of these things is a false, the outcome of this particular thing is a false itself. Okay, the same way we use this thing in our regular testing world also. Okay, good. So here the next point is how we need to consider this decision table analysis. A simple example is consider that A is an username field, B is a password field, and username and a password which is a login status. If username is the correct, password is the correct, login is a success. Okay. If username is correct, password is a invalid, login is a fail. Okay, login is a fail. Done the deal. And then if username is invalid and password is invalid, the login status is a fail. If username is invalid, password is invalid, even the login is a fail. So if you clearly observe the combinations, whatever we have, guys, how we have implemented this boolean, the similar way these conditions, the login status is also working. This whole login is also working for me. Okay. This whole login is also working for me. Okay. Good. Done the deal. And then the next point is while testing the application, you need to check all these combinations and you need to see this tells the decision value analysis. Okay, decision table analysis. What the decision table analysis is stating for us, if at all your application is dealing with these Boolean or these kind of fields are there in your application, check these values and see whether the application is responding or not in these situations. Okay, good. Any questions, guys?
No.
Good. Done the deal. And then once we are done it, the state transaction analysis. So what exactly this state transaction analysis does? So there are two more techniques, the state transaction analysis and the use case analysis. Both almost conveys the same thing. What they are saying means whether the application is changing its state or not. If you click on something, whether the application is moving to the next appropriate screen or not, this thing is saying. An example for this one is, let me show you a simple example so that you guys can easily understand. So this is what a simple website which is a Lucky Trainings. Okay. On this particular website, so if you click on a corporate training, what it should do is static page. It should redirect the corporate training page. It should redirect. Whether it is redirecting or not, we are considering this one as a state transaction testing or a use case analysis. The ultimate objective of these two is whether the application is moving its state to the next appropriate screen or not. We call it as a state transaction analysis or a use case analysis. Another small example for this one is Assume that you have an ATM card with you and you inserted your ATM card in a machine. User action is inserting card into a machine. What is the system response? What exactly the system response is? The system responds with your selection. So buddy, select something. So that's what your system will respond. If you select that cash with the ATM will respond with some other option. So the point out over here is based on your action, the system is dealing with an appropriate response. We call that particular thing as, okay, we call that particular thing as this state transaction technique. Okay, good, good enough. Any questions? Perfect. Done the deal. So these are the various kinds of techniques, whatever we have in our black box testing. Okay,
So,
good.
so ST and UCA both are same, right?
Both are
State.
conveying the same thing. Yes, those
Oh,
are two
okay.
different techniques, but the bottom
Mhm.
line is if you click on something, you are getting response on the application or not, checking that. Okay,
Okay.
if you click on something, see basically something
Mhm.
for suppose if you see here, I'm on this application home screen. So
Mhm.
if I click on a courses, what would be our objective? The various courses offered
Yes.
should display there, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
are we navigating to the courses screen or not? You need to check it out. So
Okay.
clicking on courses may navigate to some other page which is not as per our requirement. So as these are two techniques, what they are saying means it should work
Mhm.
and it should navigate to the appropriate screen. For suppose
Mhm.
if you click on a courses, just an example, okay, and if it is opening this screen, then it's not a valid thing. It's an issue. You need to raise a issue to the developer, defect to the developer. Got it?
Mhm.
If you click on a courses and if it is opening this various list of courses here, then we can treat it as this as an appropriate screen.
Okay.
Got it?
Mhm. Yeah.
Perfect. Any questions on this one?
No, no.
Good enough. So these are the various types of techniques, whatever we have in our black box testing. Okay. And of course, this is the certificate even you guys will get at the end of the training program. Okay. Yeah, cool. Done the deal. So this is all about the black box testing techniques. So let us continue the topic uh, in the next session.